Let's bring in our panel, author at the Spectator, Terry Barnes, and broadcaster Lucy Zellick. Great to have you both with us. I want to start with you, Terry, because we had some polling out today showing the Victorian Liberal Party has found that the former leader, John Pessuto, may struggle to hold on to that Hawthorn seat if he's at a state election next year. Very narrow margin. The survey of 600 voters found his net favourability rating was -15. You'd be surprised by that, wouldn't you, Terry?
No, Steve, I wouldn't be. And certainly taking into account that the polling was commissioned apparently by John Pessuto's opponents in the party. I mean, you've got to take that with a pinch of salt, I guess. But look, he's a good man. He's a decent man, John Pessuto. He's, I think, the coalition's best policy brain in Victoria, but he's just bringing all this baggage with him. And I think that's being seen by his electorate. It's being seen by the wider Victorian electorate. And if it's a choice between holding the seat for the Liberal Party and standing aside, I mean, John Pessuto needs to consider the impact of the last 2.5 years on his cause, what he believes in. But if he needs to stand aside, I think he should, if it's a question of saving the seat. But I'd actually say the same thing to his opponent in the party, Moira Deeming. I mean, if she's made mistakes and misjudgments herself. I mean, she's got a cause, and I respect that. But I think until both she and John Pessuto do stand aside and don't contest the next election, the Liberals are just going to keep fighting each other and fighting and fighting and fighting.
Yeah, that's the problem, and the big losers are the Victorian voters, the public. Lucy, I want to get onto this major story of the day. ASIO found that Iran, of course, directed 2 anti-Semitic attacks in Australia, a firebombing of the Adas Synagogue in Melbourne and the food venue in Sydney. Government's now expelled Iran's ambassador. This is shocking. This is an attack on Australia by a foreign operative. I mean, it's just dreadful. And I had a very angry Julian Lesser on the program earlier saying that the opposition had warned the government that they should have outlawed or talked about that Iranian Guard being called a terrorist organisation 2 years ago.
And the subsequent question to that is, why weren't they? I listened to Julian speak and you could get a real sense of just how passionate he was about this particular issue. And you really felt a tangible frustration from Julian over this. This was proposed over 2.5 years ago by the opposition. Why have the Labor government reacted so poorly in this? Where is that sense of being proactive in recognising these things to try and forecast what could potentially come about and put a stop to it? No one's saying that if it was recognised back then that this could have potentially put a stop to this, but it would have put different safeguards and measures in place. We would have had that recognition, as several other countries already have, that these are brutal terrorists that we're dealing with here. And if they're not in the business of brutally murdering and oppressing their own people, they're very much invested in doing that globally. And we've seen this play out now here on Australian shores. I agreed very much with Mr. Clennell's comments earlier too. It's just been a very bizarre state of affairs as well to see how it's all unfolded. We have to be grateful to God that nobody was killed in these instances, but this could have gone very differently. And although I commend what the Albanese government have done by expelling the Iranian ambassador, and it has also received bipartisan support with Susan Lee, the leader of the opposition, standing up in Parliament today at question time and reflecting as much with her sentiments, but this is something that's devastating for Jewish Australians, but more broadly as well, everyday Australians will be feeling very uncomfortable by all of this.
Terry, I mean, Lucy makes a good point there. How'd you be being a Jewish Australian tonight, knowing now that over the last 2 years, not all, but some of these anti-Semitic attacks were being driven by the evil regime of Iran? You wouldn't be sleeping too comfortably tonight, I wouldn't have thought.
I wouldn't have thought so at all, Stephen. The Jewish community has been sleeping uncomfortably ever since the 7th of October. And I don't think the Albanese government's really realised that. I mean, look at Tony Burke. He was decrying anti-Semitism today, but last week he was ripping into Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, it was the government is not only sort of following, it's reactive, it's also being confusing. It's sending so many mixed messages. And certainly if I was a Jewish Australian, I would be wondering whether the Albanese government has my back.
And Lucy, I mean, the government, the fallout from this, I think, is going to come. We're going to find out a lot more about what ASIO knows in the next 24 hours, I reckon.
And that's, I guess, been the biggest consequence of all of this as well, is that we've walked away from hearing this very shocking revelation with more questions than answers. And of course, that's understandable given that ASIO is involved and this is an ongoing investigation. This is a matter that will be heard before the courts. But ultimately for us, we want to know, what does the future look like? Are there other foreign actors involved with respect to this?
Absolutely.
Can we feel safe?
I mean, the thing you can say here, though, I think, is the fact that ASIO actually have done their job, which is a good thing. Sorry to cut you so short. We've had that emergency situation in Victoria tonight. We'll give you more time next week.